Dissolving unhealthy loyalty. Hi, I'm Anne-Margaret with this week's Sacred Sunday message to raise the vibration of your body, mind, and spirit. So, when is the last time that you questioned your loyalty? Where you were giving your unconditional time, attention, energy? Where are you usually giving yourself to others or causes or belief systems or practices? I mean, loyalty can be very empowering or it can be incredibly disempowering. So, we're going to look at that today. We're going to also look at the lion archetype of that. The devotee, the loyal lion, we hear about that with Leos, right? And we all have Leo somewhere in our charts. So I wore this lion shirt today for you guys because that lion reminds us that we don't want to be overly loyal, but we want to also make sure that we have a devotion to a worthy purpose. So let's dive in here. Our pride also can be something that is a shadow aspect of this devotee archetype or this attachment for our loyalties. And we can perhaps identify that we're a loyal person. So that might be the number one reason that we are keeping ourselves in unhealthy relationships. And I don't mean just with people, I mean also with our jobs, with our purpose, with our relationship with ourselves, with our relationship to things that source us in the world, give us information, give us energy. And these loyalties might be working against us, but our pride of at the attachment of this is my identity, this is who I am, can get really very much in the way. So our intention today is uncovering where our loyalties truly lie, and then also looking at what adjustments might need to be made in order for us to be more in alignment. Because our vibration, our frequency, we talk about raise the vibration a lot, right? Our vibration is the highest when we are in an authentic place as human beings. When we're not just like, oh, reaching for the highest feeling and just being positive all the time. No, that is completely missing the point. Now, is also like going to the depths of darkness all the time. What I'm saying is better? No, but integrating all aspects of being human. If we're not doing that, we are in a discordant alignment. So today we'll look at that, and then we'll see, do we want to recommit to this loyalty? Do we want to recommit to this relationship? Is it symbiotic? Is it feeding us? But we have to know what we're looking for, what we're incentivized by with that relationship too, right? Is it feeding us like we are feeding it? Or do we need to dissolve the loyalty or dissolve an aspect of the loyalty? This is not a talk about how to cut people out of your lives, right? Every relationship is an opportunity for your growth, right? So in remembering that devotee archetype, whatever you're devoted to, whatever you're loyal towards, that has a light attribute and a shadow attribute. Okay. And the reality is that, life is short. Time is our most precious commodity. So, how we use that time and who we devote our time and energy to, or what purpose, what belief system will really shape our reality. Okay, so thanks for joining me this morning. There's a beautiful quote by Euripides. I love Euripides, playwright, Greek playwright. He said, lack of loyalty is one of the major causes. Oh, sorry. No, that's Napoleon Hill. Let me give you this one first. This is Napoleon Hill. I love Napoleon Hill, if you guys know Napoleon Hill. He said, a lack of loyalty is one of the major causes of failure in every walk of life. He's the one who's, he's teaching about the being truly dedicated to purpose, not allowing distraction to get in your way so that you can truly fulfill what it is you're on this earth to fulfill. And I don't mean some grandiose business, maybe that's it too, right? But I don't mean something external. Maybe it's something that's internal, right? That lack of loyalty to your own spiritual growth, your lack of loyalty to uncovering where your blind spots are, okay? That is one of the major causes of failure in every walk of life, according to Napoleon Hill, and I agree with him. So here's Euripides, Greek playwright. One loyal friend is worth 10,000 relatives. One loyal friend is worth 10,000 relatives. Sometimes when we don't have strong family units, we feel like we're all alone in the world. Or if we're single and we don't have a partner to share our lives with, one loyal friend. And maybe that friend is a little four-legged fur baby, right? We need to make sure that we are feeding ourselves with loyalty, with people who prioritize us, with communities that uplift us. Okay, so let's look at, well, what are we even talking about today? What is loyalty? All right, so let's look at the definition of loyalty. It says a feeling or attitude of devoted attachment and affection. Okay, we have that little A word, that bad A word, attachment, right? But attachment is, you could also say commitment and affection, okay? Because we know that attachment is the flip side of that coin of resistance. And resistance is the source of all suffering, as we know, as the Buddhists teach and many other religions of the world. They teach that the root of all suffering, not just most suffering, but all suffering is attachment or resistance. Same thing, right? Same coin, different sides. Resistance and attachment. What am I resisting? What am I attached to? Commitment is a very different thing, okay? So let's look at the type of loyalties here. We can, like I said before, we can be loyal to a person. We can be loyal to an identity that we have. We can be loyal to a place that we're living, right? I stayed in New York City for 20 years, was very loyal to New York. Now I am I've chosen to live in Colorado. That is my loyalty now, but I still go back to New York because I'm very loyal to New York still for business, right? But we can also be loyal to sources of inspiration, of information. We shop at the same places because we're loyal with how we spend our money. That's how we're voting, right? How we're supporting small businesses. We can be loyal in all different types of ways. And in order to understand whether a relationship needs, the loyalty needs to be dissolved or recommitted to, lies in the root. Is it a healthy or an unhealthy belief system that this loyalty is rooted in? Is it healthy or is it unhealthy? How do we know the root? How do we know that? We must have clarity around what we're getting out of it. What we're getting out of it. Now, I know that there's some people who are like, well, that person is so selfless. That person, gosh, they just give and give and give. They're so selfless. You're not seeing that what they're getting out of it. They might not be even seeing what they're getting out of it. I probably would assert that they do, though, because anyone who gives, if they do not have a symbiotic relationship to that giving, they'll burn out, right? But if they feel uplifted, and if they feel as though they are being sourced by that giving, then they get what they're getting in the giving. They're getting uplifted. They're getting to be a person who's generous. They get to see the smiles on the faces. I mean, one of my favorite charities, outreach program is Operation Underground Railroad, OUR. They rescue victims of sex trafficking. And I love following them on Instagram. I definitely recommend it because Tim Ballard shares the smiles and the beauty that comes from these children, mostly children, but these young women and even young men who have been in very abusive situations. And he gets so much out of it, and all his volunteers get so much out of it because of what they do. My friends Martha and Alex in New York City, shout out to my brother and sister there. Love you guys so much. Founders of Blissful Bedrooms. They do so much good in the world. If you do not know them, blissfulbedrooms.org, go volunteer, go donate. But these two humans make over the bedrooms of special needs young adults. People confined to wheelchairs, and what they do is extraordinary. Do they give and give so many hours and so much time? Absolutely. Excuse me, absolutely. But what they get out of it is tenfold, right, guys? You know what I'm talking about. So, any of you out there doing that, you know you've got to get something out of whatever you're doing. And if you don't know what you're getting out of it, you might be trapped in an unhealthy attachment. Okay? So, the incentive is that. What am I getting? And is it an addiction? Because if it's an addiction, maybe it's an addiction to convenience, right? I only want to go so far in my relationship intimacy, in the depth of understanding my partner or myself, because it's not convenient. I'd rather stay in the safety zone of my comfort zone. All right. Is the incentive fear? Are you afraid of how people might think of you if you quit your job? If you stand up for what your convictions are? If you speak out in the name of an injustice that you're seeing in the world that might not be a popular thing to speak about right now? So, are you more addicted and more loyal to your comfort zone than to your own self expression or getting the truth out or standing for the rights and the dignity of others? Maybe it comes from that low self esteem, right? Because if we are trying to preserve how we're seen in the world, we are more committed to our ego, okay? So that ego is how we're being perceived, how we are feeling about our position. Are we more committed to being right, or are we willing to let go of our attachment to how we are seeing things for what we might uncover? That takes tremendous amount of courage. And we know that lion, right? We know that lion heart takes tremendous, tremendous courage. Oh, so I miss you too. Mwah. Thanks for joining me, baby. But we have to look here. Like, are we driven by the ego, or are we driven by our soul? Are we driven by our soul? Are we driven by our heart's desire to live this life fully? And I want to just say this for you guys out there watching right now. It is okay if your loyalties shift. It's okay if your loyalties shift. As you go even into a marriage, your first loyalty is just really just enjoying this beautiful partner that you have, right? This spouse. And then you realize they're human, right? The honeymoon phase ends. And you're like, okay, I was really loyal to having a lot of pleasure in my life and a lot of fun and good times in this relationship and being adored. And all of a sudden, life just got real. So you could shift your loyalty to, how do I deepen the intimacy with this person? What is this person reflecting back to me that I could learn from? How I could grow? All right, so it's okay that your loyalties shift. It also might be you might be committed to a friend or some cause in your life, or even a news outlet you're watching, or even a stance you're taking on something politically that's happening or publicly that's happening. And you go, wait a minute, what is my intuition saying about this? And you stop asking everybody else's opinion, right? You know how you do that? You ask everybody else and you go, okay, now I just have a lot of noise. When at first you really knew what the right thing was right from the beginning. You knew that something was off, or you knew that this was the right person for you, or you knew that that wasn't the right job for you. So many of my dear friends are going through career shifts right now, right? So it's okay if the loyalties shift. Our attachment to our identity gets in the way of our growth. I'm going to say that again. Our attachment to our identity, our egoic identification, gets in the way of our growth. So, shaking up that attachment is so crucial to finding the next evolution of who you are. All right? Here's a news flash. I'm going to look at 3 specific examples of loyalty right now, okay? Here's a newsflash. Everyone will carry on. Everyone will carry on if you shift your loyalty. They'll carry on. Life will move on. We are not atlases. We're not holding up the world. We got to remember that shadow of that God archetype or that savior archetype. Everyone will get on. Like, they'll be okay. Okay? What's important is that you're navigating this life in accordance with your own values, with your own desires, with your own purpose, in accordance to your own intuition. All right, so an example of this. Hi, Rach. Hi, Anna. Hi, everybody. Hey, Kate. An example of this in my life, and Rachel taught at our yoga studio, so she'll know this. For 18 years, I dedicated myself and was loyal to a spiritual community in New York City. And I loved it. I loved it so much. And people were like, why? How do you do what you do? Because we were not making money, for sure. I can tell you that now. We weren't making a lot of money, but we were making so much wealth in our spiritual upliftment and development of our own leadership capabilities. And we were overflowing with the wealth of community. We felt so much love for all the people in our life there. And then there was a time that came for Anthony and I where we thought, you know what, this doesn't feel right anymore for us. We want to make sure that this community continues, but we want to move on. But we were afraid. We were afraid of, like, I was afraid of, like, who am I without this community? Who am I if I'm not the head of the giving tree, right? Who am I? Or what were people going to criticize me for abandoning this community? Or maybe they would think that. And some people did, right? I did get a lot of criticism from just a very few amount of people. But guess what? The people who were in my corner, the people who loved Anthony and I, said, go for it, guys. We want you to be happy. We want you to have your life. So if you're at a pivotal moment in your career, or even maybe you're a volunteer at your church or for some organization, and you're feeling like, you know what, this isn't feeling right. Maybe you're burnt out. Maybe you're feeling the calling of something else, right? We moved out to Colorado to be close to my 80 and 84-year-old parents and to be where I grew up in the mountains and nature. If something else is calling to you, have courage to shift your priority. You don't have to blow up where you currently are working, right? You don't have to, and I mean that figuratively, obviously. You don't have to blow up the relationship you're in order to say, you know what, I don't think this is right for me. You don't have to end a friendship to say, you know, I'm not going to spend as much time devoted to this too. Oh, Angela, I miss you too, babe. I miss you too. Miss you and Maureen for sure, girl. But you don't have to end something in order for something else to begin, or just to shift the direction where you're going. That's so I learned so much in the last 4 years about that. It's so important. But we also have a fear of regret. Like, what if we make the wrong mistake, right? That's a fear of identity, how we see ourselves, not trusting the unfolding of our lives. So Goethe, one of my favorite poets, said, "You can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who cannot do anything for him, or who can do nothing for him." This is important because I'm going to say it again. You can easily judge the character of a man or woman by how he or she treats those who can do nothing for him. This is a little tricky, this quote, right? Because whenever we are engaged in anything, we're getting something out of it. I have had people who have held the stepping stone for me and let me step on their shoulders or their hands, and they prop me up. I've done that for other people. I didn't feel like I was giving them back anything in that. I just felt like, oh my God, they're being so generous with me right now. And those people that I did that for felt the same way. But guess what? Anybody, you guys know who have done this for others, how much joy do you get out of giving to others? You get something, right? So a true wise man or woman knows that, has the character that understands a heart of service. What does this have to do with loyalty? Our loyalty gets really messy and entangled with our expectations from others. Okay, let's go into the next news flash. Here you go. Here's another news flash. No one is benefiting from our pretense of loyalty. Nobody's benefiting. I do relationship coaching a lot with couples all the time, right? And I counsel them on their relationship. And so many of them are saying to me, I don't want to leave this relationship because I don't want to hurt them. Here's a news flash, guys. That is a pretense. The reality is you are keeping that person from finding their true match. And Diana, hi, sweetheart. She's found her match, right? When you're staying in a relationship that's not healthy, you are keeping that person from finding their true match. So your pretense of loyalty is really the pretense. It's covering up your fear of looking bad, your fear of being the bad guy, right? And we've all been there, right? We don't want to look bad. We don't want to hurt the other person. We do love them. But here's what we're doing. We're keeping that employer from finding the right employee for them. We're keeping that loving person that we've adored for so long, but it's not the right match. We're keeping them from finding their true love. We're keeping them from finding their own way. All right? So loyalty is constantly, if you are in a relationship, you are in a committed relationship with your job, with your partner, with your spiritual practice, with your body, with your health and well-being, it is constantly choosing this person, constantly choosing this purpose, this job, constantly choosing to go and exercise your body, get out in nature, meditate, whatever it is, it's constantly choosing, especially, here's the disclaimer, especially when you're feeling discomfort or pain. Oh, that's tough, right? So it's constantly choosing. That's the key word, choice. And here's Helen Keller. True happiness is not attained through self-gratification, but through fidelity to a worthy purpose. Helen Keller's teacher was Annie Sullivan. Helen Keller could not see, could not speak, could not hear, could not communicate for the first several years of her life until Annie Sullivan came into her life and taught her how to use touch in order to communicate. An amazing story if you don't know that story. So Helen Keller knows the true happiness is not attained through getting, getting, right? You need your needs fulfilled, yes, but it's not through what can I get from this other person? What can they give me? How can they serve me? But through fidelity to a worthy purpose. So in relationship, that can look like your purpose is self growth. Your purpose is to serve or extract the greatness in your partner and the greatness in yourself. The purpose might be to create the most beautiful love, the most beautiful partnership, the most beautiful relationship, or the most outrageous quarter for your company. Whatever that commitment is, that's where we find happiness, is what we're committed to. Here's the last news flash for today. So, our loyalty doesn't ensure validity. Okay? Just because we're committed to something or we think something is the truth, and this is what we're going to talk about is belief system next. So we talked about our career, our work, right? Our relationships, our spouse, our partner, or our friendships, and then our belief systems. Okay, here's a big one. The pretense is I have the truth. I know. I know. Whatever that is I have the truth. This is actually disempowering. And we see this, it comes from ego, right? This is the way it is. But is it? Is it the way it is? If we are attached to a certain belief, no matter what that belief is, and we don't even have the space to go, what if I considered something else? Just consider it. It's kind of like going shopping for clothes, right? Be open to something, trying on a new outfit, seeing how it fits. You don't have to buy it. But if we are overly attached to a belief system, we do not have that space. We don't have that space to grow. We don't have that space to try something new, right? So the structure is important, but if we're locked inside a comfort zone within that structure, we lose that potential for growth. So a pretense might not be I know about something that is empowering, but it also might be I know about something that is disempowering. Like, well, I know that I'm worthless. I know that I have nothing to give. I know that I'm unlovable and nobody will ever love me. All right, we've got these mantras in our heads that are so disempowering. And it's a belief system, and that loyalty to that belief system doesn't ensure that it's valid. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't ensure that it's correct, right? The reality is that you have a truth and your beliefs are shaping that reality. And guess what shapes your beliefs? Your thoughts. Okay, so if you're thinking something over and over again, it becomes your belief system, and then that belief system shapes your reality. So here's what we need to watch out for here is any false idols. This could be marketing. We look at the marketing that we see all throughout our day, telling us that we're inadequate, telling us that we're not complete unless we have this product, look a certain way, whatever it is. You have that house in that certain place or have that certain financial profile. It is the false idol. Any human, any guru, any news channel, any teacher, any doctrine, any doctor, any person or authoritative human, a person in a place of authority that is telling you what your truth is. Hi, Jorge. Good to see you, darling. Telling you what your truth is. And this will every time thwart your connection to your intuition, which is where your deepest truth lies, right? That is where you find how to navigate, right? Yes, you could ask other people's advice, but when it comes down to it, what is true for you? I think there's, I can't remember who said this quote, but truth in the minority of one is still the truth. So even if you are in your family or in your community or at your job and you really believe in something and you really believe that this is possible or whatever it is, or maybe you're the one in your marriage that's saying, I believe in us, I believe that we can do this. Truth in the minority of one is still a truth, okay? So it's not about convincing the other person to be on the same page, but sometimes we need to hold or suspend that vision, that promise, that faith for somebody else in our life or somebody else in our business. All right? That is so important. And Dostoevsky, also incredible, said, the mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but finding something to live for. So we focus so much on our survival these last 18 months or so. We focus so much on like, how do we just survive? But are we thriving? What's your loyalty? Freedom comes from being committed to something, knowing what you're committed to, and basing your actions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your words, all of that around that commitment. And then constantly stepping back and having that macrocosmic view rather than being so focused and going, okay, let me zoom out. Is this really what I believe? Is this really what I want to stay loyal to? That's what you ask yourself, that question. Okay, because our goal is either staying in the safety zone or liberation, a full embodiment of this human experience. So I'll leave you with these last things of what to do. Be honest about your incentive. What's driving you? What are you getting out of it? And then make a choice. Be all in. Don't straddle the fence. We know that's a very, very uncomfortable place to be. I've got my 1 foot in the loyalty, in the commitment. I've got 1 foot out. Oof, bad place to be. Choose a side. Are you in? Are you out? Choose. Okay? And then feel what that feels like. Experience. If your body will tell you, right? If you're feeling uplifted, if you're feeling like your heart is expanding, if you're feeling not relief, like, oh, I got out of that uncomfortable position and I can go back to being alone. All right? No. If you're feeling like your body is saying, I'm uncomfortable, my ego is uncomfortable, then dive deeper. Okay? If you're just wanting a relief and go and get distracted with something else, you might be avoiding something. Okay, so am I avoiding something, or am I attached to something? Am I committed? Am I inspired? And have the courage to let go of those egoic attachments. Because remember, dissolving loyalty is actually a requirement for growth. So it doesn't mean you have to dissolve the full relationship. You might have to dissolve what you're expecting from it. You might have to dissolve getting comfort from something you usually got comfort from and you're not getting it anymore. Whatever it is, it's essential. It's an essential requirement for growth. Okay, so have courage, you guys. Examine those loyalties. Ladies, tonight is our women's circle, our monthly women's circle. So go to raisethevibration.com under the events page if you want to join us for that. It'd be lovely to have you there. We're going to talk about this further. We're going to talk about intuition, our loyalty, and how to best use the energies at play right now to go deeper. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's always good to be with you. If you know somebody who might need this, please feel free to share this with them. And until next time, keep raising the vibration. Okay, bye everybody.